Good afternoon. We're Team 3, and we've been looking at Costco these past couple of weeks, trying to understand their strategy, some kind of weaknesses, maybe strengths, and come up with a recommendation for how they can improve their business. So to start, we looked at the general external environment, and this involves looking at technological, demographic, cultural trends, the general political climate, general economic climate, and specific international events. Now, these can range from the increase in eco-friendliness or movement towards healthier eating, or maybe even the current US-China trade war as it affects the prices of Costco. But the one we want to focus on is the technology aspect. It's one of the fastest growing parts in today's world, and it's definitely coming to hit the retail and wholesale industry. Now, Costco's are traditionally a brick and mortar store. However, they need to increase their online presence. Consumers are wanting to stay at home. They don't want to leave, go to the grocery store, pick up items when they can just have it delivered to them. Costco currently, or a lot of wholesale industries or companies don't have that kind of capability, and whoever's going to capitalize on that is going to succeed in this market. It's important to keep in mind these global dynamic and trends because as companies change, as trends for the consumer change, companies need to stay up to date, and the one that is able to adapt the best is able to stay ahead. Now I'm going to pass it off to Daniel, who's going to talk about Porter's 5 forces.
Yes, hello. To conduct the external analysis of wholesale industry, we have used Porter's 5 forces. Now, our first force, which is threat of entry, we concluded that high imitating costs as well as high level of economies of scale creates a relatively weak force. However, the low switching costs for customers as well as low level of government regulatory policies makes the threat of entry moderately high. The next point, which is threat of rivalry, the slow growth mature industry means high competition. And high competition can be seen in the form of diversified marketing strategies, which makes competition even tough. So ultimately, the threat of rivalry is high. Next, threat of substitutes. Since wholesale industry focuses on basic commodities, which can be easily substitutes, we concluded that the threat of substitutes is very high as well. Threat of suppliers, again, since basic commodities also mean that the buyers can easily choose the best suppliers from a large pool of choice, which means the low switching cost makes the threat of suppliers low. And lastly, the threat of buyers, again, since the basic commodities have low switching costs for buyers have a very strong threat. So ultimately, the overall wholesale industry is moderately high. Now we're gonna pass on to Sean, who's gonna talk about internal analysis.
As far as internal analysis is concerned, Costco has top 3 resources, which are streamlined distribution network, Kirkland brand, and bulk purchasing. Costco implemented its own distribution network. By gathering all merchandise and distributing within 24 hours, the company reduces procurement costs. With its causal ambiguity of the network, this resources is valuable, rare, and costly to imitate. Kirkland brand is another valuable resource that Costco has. This brand is known for providing quality products at a lower price. It would be costly to build a brand similar to Kirkland with a strong brand recognition and a loyalty. Costco utilizes economies of scale through bulk purchasing of goods. Through bulk purchasing, Costco is able to reduce the average unit cost, enabling to achieve in cost leadership. The relationship with supplier created makes the resource costly to imitate. Now let's talk about the strategy. Sam is going to talk about the strategy. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. So as we all know, that the Costco's main focus is to be a cost leader in the wholesale industry while following a subscription-based business model. And in order to make that successful and happen, Costco uses economies of scale to buy products in bulk and pass on its value onto customers in the form of cheaper prices. According to a survey, customers believe that this subscription model are justified due to the low-cost options available in store. Hence, they're willing to pay that yearly subscription. A second option that we believe is valuable for Costco is the Kirkland brand. The Kirkland brand provides low-cost alternative to customers. And as a result of that, Costco can reduce the number of middlemen involved in the process and charge a higher markup for the same product due to the low cost obtaining / sourcing the product. And having a limited product mix allows Costco to increase its bargaining power increase its buyer bargaining power as the brands have to bid for shelf space in Costco. Now, when it comes to imitability and variability, we believe that Costco's strategy is fairly rare compared to its main competitors, which are Target and Walmart. They don't follow the same strategy as Costco. However, Sam's Club, not direct competition for Costco, but still yet a competition, follows the same business plan as Costco, hence reducing some part of rareness and increasing the chances of imitability. But this is one of the only competitors out there in the market following the same strategy. And Costco follows a weak matrix structure, where the organizations are first grouped by business functions and then by geographical divisions. This helps Costco implement a cost leadership strategy, but it also creates disadvantages for them as there's duplication of functions in several layers of the process. Now that we have a complete understanding of Costco and its processes, I think we're ready to recommend a strategy for Costco, which Brandon's gonna more talk about.
Thanks. For Costco to increase its revenues and secure its position as a dominant player in the wholesale sector, we recommend that Costco forms an equity alliance with GoPuff. Now, what's GoPuff? GoPuff is a company that specializes in delivering snacks and a variety of household goods at any time of the day, 24/7. GoPuff has established a respectable market share in the grocery delivery sector. We suggest that Costco forms an equity alliance so that they can retain some flexibility that they would sacrifice if they were to acquire GoPuff. A significant driver behind our recommendation is how well it pairs with the recent trend in the increase in online grocery delivery. According to a study, 49% of consumers have purchased consumer packaged goods within the last 3 months. This strategy would allow Costco to vertically integrate, meaning that by having a stronger online presence, Costco will be closer to its consumers. Not only can Costco benefit from GoPuff, but GoPuff will also experience some benefits as well. By having Costco's products in their warehouses, GoPuff will have access to greater economies of scale and will ultimately reduce their cost. And not only that, it will increase brand reputation by having Kirkland brand products in GoPuff. The goal for Costco, or a goal of Costco's out of this recommendation is to strengthen the e-commerce presence and expand revenues through GoPuff's delivery service. Costco's successful Kirkland brand and distribution network will enable them to reduce their costs and prices ultimately, while improving its product selection and reputation. Now we'll talk about how we can get that recommendation into Costco's company.
For the implementation of such an alliance, we recommend forming an equity alliance, Costco with GoPuff. The reason we recommend this is first, it will be very easy for Costco to acquire ownership in GoPuff for the fact that Costco's current revenues are around $120 billion, while GoPuff's revenues barely scratch the surface of $1 million. However, it may seem very easy for Costco to acquire GoPuff, but this is not advisable. For CFO Richard Galanti stated, they are still very focused on getting consumers into Costco brick and mortar stores. So as a result, we inferred that the company actually wants to retain flexibility as much as possible, and flexibility can be retained more following an alliance strategy as opposed to an acquisition strategy. Now, for implementation, for an acquisition to work, it's very important to establish a trusting relationship between both parties, and this will need to be done through a contract to prevent cheating. Some potential forms of cheating would include Costco not delivering products to GoPuff on time, GoPuff not performing in terms of sales as well as Costco anticipated them to perform. Also, for GoPuff to form alliances with any of Costco's competitors, which are the big three. So some clauses that will be included in the contract would include, first, non-compete agreements for both Costco and GoPuff, so only they are in alliance with each other. There should also be performance measures for delivery times for Costco and also for sales revenues for GoPuff. It's also very important for confidentiality to be disclosed for accounting statements because Costco will need to understand the revenue makeup for GoPuff so they can actually claim ownership of revenues for how much they acquire. And in terms of the alliance, Costco will simply sell a fraction of its products to GoPuff, which will make up a fraction of GoPuff's supply, and Costco will gain a fraction of GoPuff's revenues depending on the amount of ownership they take in the company. GoPuff will not take any ownership in Costco for the fact that they will not be able to acquire nearly as much of Costco given their size of the firm. Overall, with this implementation and strategy going forward, Costco will be able to establish its e-commerce presence and gain a sustained competitive advantage for the future. Thank you.